Welcome back to session 2 of Explorium Academy. Today we're going to be talking about building go-to-market agents. Specifically, we're going to be focusing on the mental models before we actually build anything. And by the end of today, you're going to understand what makes agents different and powerful for go-to-market teams. Now, specifically on the agenda today, we have 4 main sections. We're going to start off with the fundamentals, talking about what agents actually are. We will then talk about why go-to-market teams specifically need AI agents. We're going to then talk about how to think like an agent builder and get into that mindset. And lastly, we're going to preview the 5 agents that you guys will all be building in this course. Now, let's first establish what we mean by an AI agent, specifically a go-to-market agent. A go-to-market agent autonomously executes go-to-market decisions using data, rules, and learning loops. In a go-to-market agent, and in any agent really, there are 3 main layers working together. There is a continuous data ingestion layer, which is consuming large volumes of signals and data in real time, whether it's form fills, intent data, technographic data, firmographic data, funding rounds, and so much other data. There is a real-time reasoning layer, which evaluates signals and makes judgments. And then lastly, there's some sort of automated action layer, which takes actions across your system using some sort of tool or MCP. You can almost think of an agent like a tireless team member that never stops working and monitoring and acting on opportunities. Now, when talking about agents, there are 3 words that get thrown around quite often. Now, let's talk about the 3 of them and clear up the differences between them. There are workflows, automations, and agents. And specifically, workflows and automations, they include predefined paths. They can almost be thought about like a flow chart that you draw on paper with one end and one finish. And it is still a very rigid if this, then that logic that can automate a very predefined path and predefined action. Whereas on the other hand, an agent can evaluate context and decide dynamically. It can look at the full picture and it can adapt their actions based on what they observe. In the broad picture, it is workflows and automations execute on predetermined logic, whereas agents reason and adapt dynamically. So for the sake of this course, there are really 2 different types of triggering patterns that we'll be using, and it is event-driven agents and scheduling agents, or scheduled agents. And this essentially differs with how the agent is triggered. In an event-driven agent, the agent reacts immediately when something happens, whether this is a form being submitted, there's some sort of spike in intent, a meeting being booked, there's some very distinct event that took place that triggers the AI agent to take action. And this is usually used when speed matters and we need to act on these fresh signals and events very quickly. On the other hand, there is a scheduled agent which will run on a regular cadence. For example, it can run every morning at 7 a.m. And this can be used, for example, when you have something that you want to be refreshed on a daily occurrence, whether it's lead scoring or preparing you for your different meetings with some sort of meeting prep agent. Specifically, there are 4 main core properties of all AI agents. There is autonomy, which means it operates without human intervention. It makes decisions within the boundaries that you set. There's context awareness, which means it pulls data from multiple data sources simultaneously, understanding the current state and historical patterns of all that data and creating some sort of coherent understanding. All AI agents have decision making, meaning it can evaluate multiple options and using logic and data. And lastly, some sort of action taking, meaning it executes across integrated systems using some sort of tool or MCP. And now let's talk about why go-to-market teams specifically need agents. We identified 6 fundamental limitations of human-only teams: scale and availability, speed and adaptability, data processing limits, execution consistency, learning and insight retention, and cost efficiency. And while some of these may be very clear, it is important to note how an AI agent can solve them. So first off, scale and availability. This essentially means that humans can only work a very distinct amount of hours per week. Most work 40 hours a week, some may work more. However, an AI agent can work all hours of the week. And also, a human is bound to where they live. They have to work within that that determined time zone. So if you want to add a region on another side of the globe, you have to add a new team or a new employee. Speed and adaptability. This kind of means that humans can take hours or even days to respond to some sort of event or data signal, whereas a AI agent can ingest and understand data in real time. Data processing limits. There's a very natural limit to how much data a human can process and understand, whereas an AI agent can process hundreds of millions of records in real time and understand the historical and real-time context. Execution consistency. This means that quality varies from employee to employee, or even within employee from different times of the day. Maybe you are more alert in the morning and less alert at night, and your work varies from that time, or even, very clearly from employee to employee. And now learning and insight retention essentially means that it is hard for humans to spot patterns across thousands, even hundreds of different data points and touch points. And essentially, feedback loops are slow and informal with humans, whereas it is very clear and sustained with AI agents. And a very clear example of insight retention is maybe an employee leaves, all that knowledge they have is walking out the door with them. And lastly, cost efficiency. This one is very clear, but every new employee is a new salary and new benefits. Whereas for AI agents, while there may be an upfront cost, scaling there's near zero marginal cost to scale. Now, when building AI agents, it is important to understand the risks and limitations. And essentially, the one thing to note is to always have a human in the loop. And this is important when taking into considerations such as risk, trust, and guardrails. These guardrails are needed because agents need clear boundaries and approval workflows. So when you're building AI agents, I recommend that you start treating an agent almost as a co-pilot, where an agent recommends some sort of action or decision and a human will approve it. And as you continuously work on this agent and become more comfortable with its outcomes, you can graduate more towards an autopilot mode, whereas an agent acts, but a human is always and constantly monitoring. It is important to always keep a human in the loop, especially for high-risk actions. And it's important to remember that agents excel at speed, scale, and consistency, but humans excel at judgment, creativity, and building relationships. So the best go-to-market teams combine both of these. Now let's move on and switch our mindset more towards a builder. And this means thinking about instead of what an agent should do, it's how will it think. When building an AI agent, this is the main flow that an agent takes. It takes inputs, then it moves on to context, then reasoning, then actions. Inputs essentially are the raw signals that are being fed into some sort of AI agent. Then next is the context, and this is some sort of enriched understanding. It may be firmographic company data, relationship history, competitive landscape, financial information, prospect information, but it's creating some sort of surrounding information on those raw inputs. And it is important to note that we will be using Explorium throughout this entire course, and Explorium excels at both input and context, and the input and context stage. It has events for different inputs, and it has many different data signals to create context on these inputs as well. Now moving on is reasoning, or the decision logic of an AI agent, and this essentially means, given all of the context, what should I do next? And then lastly is the action or execution of the AI agent, and this essentially is what actions will move this opportunity forward. And this essentially means that the AI agent will use some sort of tool or MCP based on the decision it makes in the reasoning step. Now, AI agents can be grouped into two broad categories: narrow responsibility agents and do everything agents. And the names are pretty self-explanatory, but just to give them a little more context, a narrow responsibility agent essentially means that the AI agent is focused on one job to do it extremely well. There are very clear boundaries, it is easy to test, easy to debug, and very easy to improve upon. Whereas a do everything agent is looking to handle the entire action or handle everything end to end. And the issue with a do everything agent is it can quickly become a black box. If something is not going as planned, it's very hard to pinpoint where that issue is coming from because it is trying to do so many different things and there are so many different LLMs and tools working together. My recommendation is to start with a narrow responsibility agent and have it work on that action and get it down very well. And if you want to move on to another action, build another narrow responsibility agent for that action. While it is possible to create a do everything agent, my personal recommendation is to create many narrow responsibility agents to create a whole suite of them so they can do every action. When building AI agents, there's one very common mistake, and that is treating agent building as writing one big ChatGPT prompt. And that is not the case because AI agents are entire systems, not just an LLM. AI agents include data models for inputs, context, decisions, and actions. They include enrichment layers, a decision engine with business logic, and yes, they do include LLMs, but it is not the entire picture. AI agents also include some sort of monitoring, error handling, feedback loops to continuously improve the output, and then also some sort of action execution, whether it's using an MCP or some other tool. And yes, there are prompts involved, but it is only one part of the story, and creating those prompts for that LLM is just one part of the entire system. Now, in the next section, we will now preview the 5 go-to-market agents that you guys will all be building in this course. The first agent that you guys will all be building is a Slack agent, which is an agent that will reside within Slack. You will be using a natural language interface using MCP tools to query Explorium data. The next agent will be an inbound go-to-market agent, which will take a single lead or company and enriches it automatically using a variety of Explorium APIs. Next will be an ABM expansion agent, which will extend on the inbound agent into account-based motion. It will find additional relevant leads at that same company and output multiple contacts to pursue at a target account. Next is a meeting prep agent, which will be a research-heavy agent that preps reps for calls. This will be a calendar-based trigger agent that combines multiple data sources for company and attendee intelligence. And the output will be some sort of AI-generated insight and talking point created by an LLM. And then lastly, the culmination of all of these agents will be some sort of outbound go-to-market agent that you will create. This will be a multi-step orchestration with looping and batching involved. It will include validation, guardrails, and some sort of human-in-the-loop pattern. And while we go through all these agents, we will be going step by step on how to build some of these different agents. We will talk about integration setup and different API calls. We're going to talk about common pitfalls and debugging that you will see when creating these agents, and specifically how to adapt some of these different agents into different use cases. Now, this is everything that we had covered today for session 2. I hope to see everyone in session 3 and excited to get building. Thank you.